Hey, everybody, welcome to the Spake Up podcast, week number 3. I promise I'm going to stop counting at some point, and I can't wait to do so because that'll mean we're rolling. I want to remind everybody the numbers have been really good, so I'm excited that people are watching, but make sure that you give us a follow, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you kind of consume your podcasts. We have some really great guests coming up. I'm really excited about them. And yeah, just let me know. And always feedback is great. Send me a message. I'm trying to respond to all of them. So definitely try to send me a message. I was super excited this past weekend, got back on the road with TNT, was there in Atlanta, which was amazing to be back at work with Parker and Adam Alexander, Jamie McMurray, the whole crew. It's been a long time since I've been at the racetrack, especially in that capacity. I think 2017 was the last time I was on a desk, but that was for Xfinity and it was not for Cup. So this is the first time that I've actually been able to host a pre-game or pre-race show, I should say. I'm in the game mode because of our guest that's coming up, but pre-race show from the racetrack, and it felt really good. I thank everyone for coming and saying hello to me. All the feedback on social media, everyone seems really excited for TNT to be back. I remember when I was at ESPN and we would do the entire season of what was then the Nationwide Series, start to finish. And then, of course, ESPN had the last 17 cup races. And we would be so tired by the summer months because we've been going since February. And in would come TNT for their 6-race stretch. And they would be fresh and excited and couldn't wait to kind of like do things. And we were hot and sweaty and tired from already being on the road for several months. So I remember TNT being a part of the sport. There's so many great names that were part of their broadcasts, and now I'm part of that, which is great. It's only going to get better. We have 4 more weeks. Chicago is one of my favorite cities, so I am going to be a complete homer this weekend. I can't wait. We're actually leaving on Thursday. We're going to go to a Cubs game, going to do a bunch of stuff, and really looking forward to that. Looking forward to this as well. So my next guest today is Andy Katz. And if you know anything about basketball, college basketball, NBA, the name Andy Katz is very, very familiar because he has been covering this sport for a long time, since the 90s. I had the pleasure and the honor of working and learning from Andy very early in my career. 2012, we will talk about this, was when I started to work in college basketball. I did the SEC, so I was with Coach Calipari a lot. Bruce Pearl was at Tennessee at that time. Mark Fox was at Georgia. Kevin Stallings at Vanderbilt. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to remember. I'm also wearing my Dean shirt right now, which this is a very cool story. So I worked the very first Duke Carolina game after Dean Smith passed away, and the student body at Carolina made this shirt. So it's in the Duke. You guys can't see it if you're listening to a podcast, but it's the dark navy blue. So it's the Duke color blue, and it says Dean, and it says Dean in sort of the Duke font. So it almost looks like Duke, but it's Dean. And I remember that there was a moment of silence during that game. It was at Cameron Indoor, and both of the teams came together in the middle of the court, and they all went down on one knee and they all prayed together. And it was a really spectacular moment. Coach K actually had me on his podcast the next week, which was a total pinch me moment. I'm like, I'm being interviewed by Coach K. It was incredible. But it was a very cool moment. And I was lucky enough to get one of these shirts. And so this is one of my prized possessions for sure from my time covering college basketball. Also, prized memories came with Andy Katz. And so when I asked him to do this, especially coming off the NBA draft last week, I was really excited to kind of sit down and talk to him. So I hope that you guys enjoy the interview with Andy Katz. There's so much more to him than just basketball, and I think we covered a little bit of that. I'm going to say hello to my good friend Andy Katz right now. So I'm going to get this right, host of the Sideline Podcast. So make sure that you give him a follow on the Sideline Podcast, and of course, college basketball analyst for the Big Ten Network. Also, remember, and I totally forgot that you used to do this, Andy, until I started kind of researching the brackets with the President of the United States. You don't do that anymore, do you?
Well, so it was an 8-year run. Did it every year with President Obama. Originally came to him the idea when he was running for president. But I will say that when my last year at ESPN was Trump's first year, and we did reach out.
Yeah.
They declined, which is fine. And I actually think that it worked with Obama. He was into it, and that's fine. You close the chapter. I don't know if it would have worked with everybody. It might have worked with Clinton because he's also a basketball guy, and went to the Final Four in Charlotte when Arkansas was there. You know, maybe you do a baseball one with Bush because he owned the Texas Rangers.
Yeah.
Maybe you do a golf one with Trump, but I think basketball
Oh,
worked with Obama.
get like a golf tournament, like bracket challenge with Trump going. I mean, I think he'd be down for that for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think someone could do that with
Yeah.
him because you got to play to the person's strength.
Did you get to go to like, cause I know I've been to like a White House tour before. Did they take you back like into like any secret areas where the normal public don't get to go?
Yeah, I will tell you the first year was by far the best because so that was 2009. And, you know, there was always this honeymoon with him coming in there. And a lot of the staffers were really young and they were into college basketball. They watched ESPN. And so we got there early that first year. And I got this like unofficial tour. And I was taken literally all over the White House.
That's so cool.
And I'll never forget. And there's parts of the White House that are really low ceilings because it's, you know, obviously a couple hundred years old.
Yeah.
And so we're coming up this back stair and this door opens and I'm standing there and out of this room walks Hillary Clinton, who was the Secretary of State, George Mitchell, who at the time was like a Mideast envoy, former senator from Maine, are walking out. Obviously, some high profile meeting.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not supposed to be there. And so the person who was showing me around, he's a young staffer. He's like, "Oh, we gotta go. And so yeah, it was very cool. And then, you know, I mean, obviously because of that, I went a number of times when teams went. I did a Title IX thing with him, interviewed him on the ship when North Carolina played Michigan State
Cool.
in San Diego. So I think in 8 years, I probably went to the White House maybe 12 times, but interviewed him maybe like 14. So yeah, it was a great run.
Do you have his cell phone number or his email address?
No. I
Come
will say
on.
this. You want to laugh at something?
You're the best at getting people's like cell phone numbers
Yes.
for contacts. I'm shocked that you didn't like move in.
Here, I'll get a great one for you, Shannon. So what morphed over time, and you can appreciate this because you worked with, and I'm not going to name names to embarrass people at ESPN, but the kind of requests I got were ridiculous. And some of my favorites were, because I had this relationship, was 1 year when the United States was trying to get the Olympics and they sent Obama, this was for Chicago. They ended up not getting him. They ended up going to Brazil. So they send Obama as sort of the 11th hour. It's kind of embarrassing. He goes to Switzerland to try to get him and they don't get him. So one of the Sports Center producers calls me and says, "Hey, can you get Obama to call in to Sports Center from Air Force One on his way back to the United States?" I said, "Okay, wait a minute. So you want me, first of all, I don't have that phone number. But secondly, you want him to call in as a phoner after losing the Olympics." Okay. Like embarrassingly. That was one. Two,
What did you say? Did you immediately say no, or did you say I'll try?
No, I was like, this is ridiculous. All-Star game, I think it was in St. Louis. This is back when there was ESPN News. He's going to go up, throw out the first pitch. Producer calls me and says, "Hey, we see he's in the dugout. Could you have him call us before he goes out?" Again, don't have the number. Don't see why he would call ESPN News before he goes and throws out the first pitch. And my favorite one was the last one. NFL draft was in Chicago the last year he was president. And so I get a call, and this is when I got a little cynical. "Hey, we have a great idea for the tease." This is whoever was doing the tease for the NFL draft. They said, "Is there any way you could call the White House, get Obama to be in front of Lake Michigan to announce our tease?" I said, "Okay, well, let me just get this straight. So you want the President of the United States to fly to Chicago, shut down Lakeshore Drive, shut it down so he could read your tease? I just want to make sure I understand the ask."
And you want me, Andy Katz, to set that up?
Yeah. But
Mhm.
you want to shut down the major thoroughfare of downtown Chicago, have him fly in on Air Force One so he could read your teas. Just want to make sure I got before I make the phone call.
And they said, "Yes, that's exactly what we're asking."
So it like it
Kelly,
just
by the way, is dying over here. Kelly Hamilton was a producer at ESPN, and so she gets it. Like, we all get it, right? Like, we all get it.
so those are my three favorite asks that I didn't that I stopped with me. I did not embarrass myself in asking those.
Well, it would be funny if you run into him one day and tell him at this point, like, that some of those things. You know what? I'll tag him on this. He can watch it a little bit later. Okay, so we first worked together, you and I, in 2012. Look at us. That
Oh
was
my God.
2012,
Look
Andy.
how young we look.
I know, it happens. That was what, 13 years ago? And so, they call me and they're like, "Hey, we wanna send you to the national championship game to cover it." I was like, "Yes." And even though I had done like 1 season of college basketball, but it was because
But I
Kentucky was
think
going.
hadn't you done SEC?
Yeah,
And that was the year Kentucky was in it.
that's
So
right.
you had a connection with them.
Yeah, that's right. Very little though, right? Because there's Anthony Davis.
Yep.
Yes, big guy, right? Do you remember that team? That team was so good, and Anthony Davis just, like, came alive. Bill Self, still really good friends with him.
Yep.
He's awesome, Hall of Famer. That team was so fun to watch, and there was only, like, 5 of them. Remember? It
Yes.
was they had no depth, but they were so good. And you were so kind to me because here I am, right? Like, coming on in. I know nothing about NASCAR and you were so kind to me. Unlike listen, you come in, right? We were doing remember we were doing interviews like in the back corner
Yep.
because CBS, like, they pay a lot of money for the tournament, so they get a lot of the access. But you had all of these contacts with all of these teams and were able to kind of pull the coaches and the players like into a back room. And I was able to kind of jump on board for that.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I'm always a big believer in that our world is small. And when I started, not to sound like, when I started, but when I
What year did
started,
you start at ESPN?
2000.
2000. Okay. So I was
And
2007. So 7 years afterwards.
so we originally had crews that were employed by ESPN when I first started. Camera people, audio, the whole bit. And then that faded away. And now what I learned, and this is why you can't be, the sanitizers, you can't be a jerk, whatever. Like you just can't because you could work with one crew one day and tomorrow they're working the Today Show.
That's
And then the
right.
next day they're working NASCAR or whatever. And everybody talks. And I cannot tell you how many times I've been with, and obviously we have a lot of repeat crews
Hmm.
that you end up using, but people talk about other people. And I never wanted to be that person that was talked about, you
That's
know,
right.
that didn't do it right. Just treat people with respect. And because it always can come back. I always feel like there's going to be a point where you're going to need someone else. You're going to need someone else's help. You're going to need that phone call. And so that's always critical for me to constantly bring people in. And that's why, when you were doing it with me, and then at one point, Allison was doing it with me, and I think Kaylee
Allison
Hartung.
Williams.
What's that? Yeah,
Allison
Allison Williams.
Williams. Hmm.
And it was always important to me to make sure that everyone felt comfortable, knew everyone, introduce everyone, because I'm very much team aspect.
Yeah.
And we're there together. We're going to get it done and put out the best product. And it's like I remember one camera person said to me um, that another. I don't want to name this person, but there was another the actual male reporter who was adamant that every shot had to be a two shot. And I learned early on at ESPN that really boxed SportsCenter and the
Yep.
shows in
Yep.
because they had to run the whole thing. And then a lot of times they would only run it once because of that. Because as you go later in the day, highlights, you can only run a clip. So that's why I'm always like, okay, start on a two, go to a one. The content is king or queen, stay there. Like to me, it was always about getting what I was doing on air. You know, people that mattered knew that I helped get it on air or whatever.
Hmm.
I didn't need my face on there all the time. So, but but people that were adamant about that, then everyone would talk about it. And, and to me, it was sort of self-destructive in that way.
Yeah. So for folks at home who don't understand, a two shot is when you're actually like the reporter is still in the shot, remaining in the shot with the person that they're interviewing. And you do that as a reporter because you want your face to be seen during that interview the entire time. And a lot of places do want you to go to a tight of just the interview subject so that they can then use that bite and that can live alone wherever it goes. It's funny because like I'll have cameramen who move in and yeah, you're like, man, I want to be in this shot. Like I want to my question and all that stuff, but you do get it, right? And I'm the same way, Andy. I'm like, I don't need to hear my voice 100 times in a game. If I have a good nugget and I can give it to the play-by-play or the analyst and they can use it, at least it gets in because we are a team. You've always been like that. And I went back and did some research to kind of get ready for you. I love this thing that you said when you first started ESPN. You said the trend was then to just throw you onto ESPN News or Sports Center and see what happens. So true, right? I was green. We were all green. So if I failed miserably, I don't think I would have lasted as long as I did. However, we did fail.
Yeah.
That was part of it. And fortunately and unfortunately, fortunately for me right now, and unfortunately for me too, a lot of that stuff lives on YouTube infamy.
Yes.
Do you go back and watch any of that stuff? Hold on, Spencer. We're gonna wait a second. Do you go back and watch any of this stuff on YouTube? Your mistakes?
No, but I mean, I'm in a club. Do you know the club I'm in?
The bulging
Yes. Are we allowed to say
club?
that?
Can we play that? Well, we're gonna have you say it. Like we're gonna
Oh,
have you say it. Listen,
wow, you have researched it.
it's too
There,
good.
oh, wow, there it is. Go ahead. I want to see this.
Live down draft boards. He's not here in Newark tonight. Andy Katz joins us. Andy, what's the latest on the former Buckeye star?
So serious.
The Chicago pre-draft camp, ESPN.com's Chad Ford reported that medical reports were red flagged by a number of NBA teams saying that he had bulging discs. Now, I spoke with his father, Sach Stollinger.
So good.
Not one, but two.
Did you know that you said it when you said it?
No. And I don't and to be honest, I don't think Reese did either. By the way, Reese looks really young there.
There.
I don't think Reese did either. And the thing is with the NBA draft, NFL draft, but even more so the NBA draft, it is so fast.
Yeah.
You got to go to the next thing. And so you can't like coil back to what just happened. And
Yeah.
but I really did not realize it at the time. I
Okay.
blew through it. It's funny that you bring that because speaking of my alma mater 2 years ago at Wisconsin,
Jump
and I
around.
said, "Any questions?" And this kid raises his hand and he's like, "Hey, what happened when you said bulging dicks?" And I'm like, "It just happened." I said it. Now the lesson learned is just for me, I will now say back injury.
Okay. All right. So,
I
and
do
I did
not
love it.
say
Like, I think that was on
this.
Sports Center too, and the anchor was like, "Glad there's not a picture of that," right? Like, so
Yes.
when it was the second time or whoever said it. So, I also have a big flub, and I want to see if you can hear it.
Greg Keselowski gets to a smoky stop. That'll be a fourth tire change and air pressure adjustment for Keselowski. Shannon.
This is the money shot. Stop right here for Carl Edwards. 4 tires and fuel. He said, do not want
Did you hear it?
a little bit of air pressure. Ben.
Wait, I heard money shot. What did I
That's
miss?
exactly right. It's
Oh,
supposed to be the money stop.
oh,
And I
okay.
said the money shot, and this lives in YouTube infamy, everybody. Again, I didn't know I said it either. And when I got off air, people and I'm gonna admit, like, I didn't know what it was at the time. And everybody was like, "Do you know what you said?" And I was like, "No, I don't." I would think I was like 7 months pregnant. We're in Phoenix. Again, everything's happening so quickly.
Right.
But yeah, we mess up, don't we?
Yes. But you know what? And that's the other thing too. Like in this business, I think first of all, you have to be thick skinned,
Yeah.
even 10 times more as a woman.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't envy you in that regard because people are awful, can be online or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you also you have to sort of laugh at yourself sometimes. We all make mistakes. Um, and the beauty of this business too is you have to keep changing, adjusting. and also kind of editing yourself. Um, you know, you've got, I think, teenagers. I've got kids that are just a little older, and the attention span isn't great. And so,
Mhm.
the fact that we have to do things tighter, quicker. That's why one thing I love this kind of format now, because it's the one format where we can actually express ourselves and talk and go deeper dive than everything being TikTok 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, uh, when you make a mistake, you've got to be able to go through it. If it's a flub, it's not the end of the world, obviously. But the other thing you were saying before um, about being thrown out there that I said, it's true. I also do think, and it's not just ESPN, I think almost all networks that I've experienced, haven't worked at them all, but a number that I have worked at with former athletes, I think they do a disservice to them by not really prepping them. Not about prepping them about the game they're going to call, but what to expect. Not everyone can handle someone in their ear while you're talking. And the brain aspect of that, of like, I'm talking to the audience here, and I've got someone in my ear, and like I saw Shane Battier was on Pablo Torre's podcast. He was talking about his broadcasting
I
experience.
remember that. We were there. We were part of that.
Yeah, and he failed. And I remember they threw him out. I'm almost positive his first game was like Duke Louisville, so a big Monday game, and they didn't have him do. No offense to like Gardner Webb or whatever, but like they didn't have him do
Yeah.
some lower level game on ESPN Plus or something. They're like, oh, Shane Battier, Player of the Year, NBA player, he can do this. But it's a different skill set. It's not just talking about the game, it's how you're going to do it, how you're going to deal with quick television timeouts and people in your ear, and dealing with crowds and distractions and feedback coming in. The first time, how about this? The first time I did a little stint, if you remember, guest hosting for Bob Lee, and the
I do
first time I
remember
did
that.
it on Outside the Lines, it was in an old ESPN News studio, and the directors were crossed the different studios. Literally, the first time I'm on the air, I'm hearing the director talking to another show
Oh
while
my
I'm live,
gosh.
and
You're like, pull the ear IFB out.
I'm just like just going. This is like live television,
Yeah.
and I'm trying not to screw up, and I'm hearing other cues, and it took till the first break for them to fix it, and like stuff like that happens, and you got to just sort of deal with it.
Can I tell you my Jerry Rice story before we move
Yes.
on to the NBA draft? Oh my gosh. So this is one of the ones, like if I wrote a book, but this is my book right now. The podcast is my book because I'm getting to interview people that have been part of my life and tell these stories. So I'm at ESPN and I was out there doing NASCAR. Is it NASCAR Now? What was it? NASCAR Now? So they would fly me up there. I'd work for like 2 weeks. I'd host NASCAR Now. And so Jerry Rice, greatest of all time, he's there doing football. Herm Edwards was there as well. Herm used to be like, vroom, vroom, what's up, vroom, vroom, right? So very cool because I would always go introduce myself. We were kind of sitting in the same pods. And if you remember, Jerry really struggled. He didn't like it wasn't he didn't get great feedback. Like people weren't really like on the
Right.
Jerry Rice train when he was doing stuff. And I was walking through the stairwell. ESPN does a lot of stairwells, right? You go up the stairs, down the stairs, all through it. And there's Jerry Rice standing in the stairwell. Looks a little stressed out. And I'm like, gosh, I mean, I don't really know what I'm doing either. Yeah, I'm there hosting for like the 10th time maybe in my entire career. And I said to him, I go, hey, Jerry, how's it going? And he says, oh, good, Shannon. He goes, this TV thing is just really, really hard. And I said, you know what, Jerry? I said, it's going to be okay. I said, you are a perfectionist. I said, everything that you've done in your life has been at the top level. You'll get this too, because you're going to put in the time and you're going to get it. And he's like, thanks. And I walked away and I was like, what the just happened? I just gave Jerry Rice advice about anything.
Right.
But yes, I did. I gave Jerry Rice advice, and that's my story. And it was probably the greatest moment of my life, besides my children being born.
Well, think about this. How often have you interviewed even lead driver, you name it, and they don't even know how to hold a mic?
Yeah.
Like, remember, like they'll go way down here and you gotta
Yeah. What do I do with my hands?
yeah.
Ricky Bobby.
It's not
Same.
natural for everybody.
No, it's not. And you don't know what to do with your hands. You don't know how to talk normally. You don't know how to, I mean, there's a lot that goes into television for sure. And I agree with you. But like, I'm going to flip this because I think that, we were allowed plenty of time to mess up, plenty of time to kind of make those mistakes and get better. I don't think people nowadays are, especially athletes. And that's kind of how I'm going to turn it back to
Can
the
I ask you one
NBA.
more question?
Well,
I'm
yeah.
curious one thing.
Yeah. Did Jerry take my advice?
No, no. Well, I was
Did
gonna
he teach
say
me how to catch a football?
because
No.
this is a little inside baseball, but I'm curious because when I'm in a loud arena and I've had mic issues and I can't
Hmm.
hear myself, I've always it's really difficult. I think sometimes how loud do you speak?
Yeah.
Like, because you have a mic and you're going out to the world on your television, but you're in a loud space. How have you handled? I'm curious this. How have you handled when it's loud at the track?
Yeah.
You can barely hear yourself, but you don't want to scream because the TV audience isn't at the track, so they don't
I
want to
mean,
hear you
I
scream.
battle with that still to this day, Andy, like this weekend, doing because these mics are directional. You can very much pick them up. And yeah, it's at NASCAR also it would be tough because when the cars were coming by, there it's loud, but then the cars would be on the backstretch and it wouldn't be as loud. So here you are having to kind of change your inflection throughout the report, depending on where where they are. Same thing. These mics are so good nowadays that naturally you just want to scream, but you don't have to. I battle with it still to this day. So I don't have an answer for you.
No, no, I was interested. Okay.
I wish I did. I've been doing this for over 20 years and I still I listen to some people who do reports and I'm like, dang, that was really good because they weren't screaming. They trusted their mic. They trusted that it was
Right.
going to pick it up. And then and I listen to some of my reports and I'm like, ugh, I'm screaming, I'm yelling, even in here, right? Like same thing. I don't know how loud to be. So I'm still learning.
Okay.
So there, I just gave the great Andy Katz advice.
All right. There you go.
Jerry Rice, Andy Katz. I love it. So getting back, right, the try and fail. What kind of learning curve? We'll go with Cooper Flag, right? Number one, everyone says he's ready. In NASCAR, they say the longest distance in NASCAR is from the Xfinity Series garage to the Cup garage. I've covered plenty of athletes who went to Alabama and they get into the NFL, and everyone is like the players at Alabama. Everyone's good. Everyone's top 1%. What kind of battle is it gonna be for him? How ready is he? What kind of challenge is this gonna be? And he's gotta get it right now, right? All eyes are on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I'm always looking to see at each of your sort of in your own neighborhoods, did you continue to be the best?
Mhm.
And every time he took a step up, he was from Maine to a national prep school, now Duke. But the kicker, to me, was this past summer when he was the one college guy with the Olympic team during the practices in Vegas, and he
Mm,
held his own. And so
mm,
that was sort of the launching pad for this season where he met the moment of being the hyped player. He's not just obviously a very exceptional offensive player, his defense, his ability to pass, his basketball IQ, obviously his size. But what I love about him is off the court in terms of how he handles himself. In the first sort of big game last year in Atlanta, when they lost to Kentucky, and he had two turnovers at the end of the game. And I was shocked because I think he had just turned 18, maybe. Shire brought him out, John Shire, the Duke coach.
yep. By the way, did you see my shirt
I
by any
like
chance?
it. There you
Yeah.
go.
So I got this when Dean Smith died
Okay.
and Duke and Carolina played. It's a shirt that says Dean, but it's in the Duke sort of color and the Duke lettering for people listening on Spotify and Apple Music. So this is one of my treasured things. Anyways, I digress. Sorry about that.
Yes,
Didn't
I
mean to
love it.
interrupt you.
Um,
You mentioned Duke,
so
so my brain
yeah,
went there.
so he was there. He answered the question. He
Huh.
was the one Duke player that showed up with the head coach.
Handled it.
Then spin forward to the Final Four when they had the epic collapse against Houston in the semifinal. Um, just disastrous loss.
Yep.
He's on the podium. And so, that speaks volumes to me that you're willing to deal with the tough situation, handle the question. I mean, there were no gotcha. I mean, it was what it was what it was. You just
Yeah,
discuss
but
what
that takes
happened.
a little bit of maturity that some players
Yes,
haven't even figured out.
yes.
Mhm.
And so that to me was incredibly impressive. And it also helps that he's going to a team in Dallas that if it weren't for injuries, despite the Luca trade and all that, but they would have had a better showing in the postseason. And if they're healthy again, if you pair him up with Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, I mean, they're
Mhm.
going to be a formidable front line in the West.
We're not gonna talk about that. I mean, that was just crazy, that lottery, how that went down. As someone who covers the Charlotte Hornets and lives here in Charlotte, I couldn't even watch. I was like, "I can't. I know this is I can't." And we're all like, "What? What? Was that crazy?"
Yeah, so Charlotte ended up getting a Duke player, but it was not the Duke player they thought.
No, no. We actually Charlotte got a lot of players, like a lot. Who do you like the best? You got Liam McNeely, Colin Sexton, James, Kneppel,
Um,
Kalkbrenner, and then Connaughton. I just actually heard from Mike Bray last night. He was like, "Yeah, Connaughton, that's awesome. Great locker room guy."
yeah, I mean, I like the talent. What they're
That's a
missing
lot.
is obviously, the all-star veteran kind of player. But I mean, Sexton obviously is great pickup. I mean, Con Knippel, I think will be a solid NBA player. I just thought it was a little high. Um,
Oh,
but if you like the person, then take him when you pop at that spot. I think Kalkbrenner is a steal.
yeah.
Um, when they got him in the second round because he's as good a defender as anyone in the league. I mean, at his size, he's four-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year. Um, so no, I like the players. The question is, will they all fit together? Will they be able to win enough? Um, to be competitive. The good thing is they're in the East versus not the West. I think the East is, yeah, you can move up quicker in the East in the current the way the rosters are set right now.
Yeah, plus you've got 2 guys, 2 main guys that are not gonna be in the East. Of course, that's Tatum and Halliburton next year because of those
Right.
injuries. So, what do you like, how do you think that that could shift the power?
Oh, I think it's wide open. I mean,
Huge,
obviously
right?
Cleveland goes in, as one of the favorites because they won it last year in terms of the regular season.
Mhm.
Milwaukee, obviously, as long as they keep Giannis, which appears that they will,
Yeah.
they're going to be right there. I mean, we'll see, but I mean, it looks that way right now. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't dismiss Boston totally with Jalen Brown, but I mean, they're not going to be elite
Yeah.
without Tatum. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely movement. I mean, think about Detroit. Detroit was at the bottom for years, and they had a great year last year for them, moving up. So we'll see what happens if it can strike for Charlotte. Obviously, there's good passion there, good interest,
Oh, it's
and they're
let me tell you something. It
yearning for some
it's
success.
crazy. Like, the few wins that the team did have this year at home, that place is electric. Like, people, like, here in Charlotte, they are ready for like, they're ready, and it's gonna be great. The sleeper, I did this story during the season, SGA, 11th overall, right? I mean, you're not even in the top 10, and you go on to do what he does. By the way, just signed a $285 million contract extension. That's a lot of zeros. I wanna know who the next sleeper is, because I know everyone's looking at Cooper Flag, and I heard what you just said, but who's the sleeper?
It's hard to say a sleeper at
Yeah,
6, but I think Trey Johnson's an absolute star from
Trey Johnson.
Texas.
Writing this down.
Went to Washington. Um, and I know like 6 is not sleeper category,
Yeah.
but I think Carter Bryant, 14 to the Spurs from Arizona, I would put him in that category. And my other 2 I would say would be Walter Clayton Jr., who also went to the Wizards, won a national championship at Florida, and Neek Clifford. Now these are older guys, but Neek Clifford, who goes to the Thunder from Colorado State.
Huh.
Uh, he's got a kind of a Shea game. I mean, he's kind
Yeah?
of size-wise like him. I saw him. I covered them during the NCAA tournament. So he's another one to keep an eye on.
This stat was really interesting to me. In 12 years under Adam Silver, there's 9 different champions, while in 30 years with David Stern, did you see the stat? There were 8. What happened to the dynasty?
Um,
Why? Where'd it go?
well, a lot of that has to do with the crazy salaries that people are willing to pay. That loyalty just doesn't exist anymore. Where you say,
Mhm.
"Oh, I want to play in this one place the rest of my career." I would say in most sports, I mean that's the case.
Yeah, we haven't had a
Um,
lot of dynasties in NASCAR, right? Jimmy won a bunch, and then we haven't really seen that. We were just talking about NFL. Yes, obviously Kansas City goes to the Super Bowl a lot, and we see them kind of make those runs, but we haven't like seen a huge like we don't see like the Patriots right now,
right.
right?
I mean, yeah. In the eras of when we were little, I mean, Steelers, Cowboys, um, you know, that is no more. I mean, I guess the
Mhm.
one outlier was the run of the Patriots.
Mhm.
We'll see if the Chiefs can continue that.
Yeah,
In the NHL,
a little bit.
yeah, a little bit now with
That's that.
Florida was Tampa Bay, now Florida.
Mhm.
But for the most part, that hasn't been the case. But yeah, I mean, think about in the NBA, you had Lakers, Celtics for a while, the little mini run for there's the mini Pistons, mini Rockets, um, and then obviously the Warriors had their mini run. There was another Laker
Mhm.
run. Well, before that with Kobe and Shaq, the mini Heat run.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I don't see it in the NBA though. I mean, as much as they say this is a championship team in Oklahoma City, to me it feels like Denver. They win, maybe they get back in a couple years. You know, I remain a little suspicious that you're able to sustain it multiple years in a row.
Yeah, and you've got a guy named LeBron. I don't know, did you see his comments about ring culture? And did you see those comments?
No,
Where he said, "I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport and why it's the end all be all of everything. Like, okay, you weren't a great player because you never won a championship, or if you won, you can't be in the same conversation with this person." It's interesting, right?
yes. Well, you
Because I
think about
mean, for a long
Chuck.
time, that's
They give Barkley flack all the time that he didn't win one, but he's still one of the greatest players of all time.
right. Dan Marino, Denny
Yeah,
Hamlin in racing, right? Never won a
yeah.
championship, one of the greatest of all time. People ask me, like, who's the greatest NFL player of all time? And you're like, Tom Brady. And it's like, okay, what were his stats? And it's like, you only need one stat. That's the championship that he won,
Right.
right? So is that changing too, do you think? The ring culture?
I would hope so.
Yeah? You hope so.
Um,
Why?
well, because it shouldn't be defined just by that. Think about coaches, great coaches that never got to a Final Four, and yet had tremendous college careers in college
Yeah.
basketball. Um, if in the NBA, um, if I guess LeBron is different. Obviously, he's won multiple. Had he not, because of all his hype, maybe that would have followed him. Finally, did, uh, and so that was put to rest. But Connor McDavid, okay, in the NHL, gets back-to-back finals with the Oilers against the Panthers, loses both. Are we going to say 10 years from now, if he never wins a cup, that he wasn't one of the greatest hockey players? No, he
Yep.
was. Sometimes, and by the way, when you lose a game 7, like you're going to judge one player because your team lost a game 7 a couple years in a row.
Yep.
I don't think that's fair.
I I love the argument. I think Denny Hamlin is one of the best drivers in the NFL. I mean, in NASCAR, he Hall of Famer, 3 Daytona 500s, won all these races, owns teams, hasn't won a championship. And especially I think nowadays with injuries, with the way certain like with the way our playoffs are done, college basketball, the tournament bracket, you win and you're in, you lose and you're out kind of thing. It's really hard to win a championship in some of those formats. Getting back to the draft real quick. I have some pictures of me from my draft experiences. I've had very cool draft. I worked the one draft with you in
Wait, who is
2015.
that? I can't tell.
D'Angelo Russell.
Okay. Well,
He
wearing the
went
oh, I see. Wearing the
What
Buckeye
did he go
colors.
second that year, I think?
Yep. For the
Went
Lakers.
to the
It's a Laker
Lakers, that's
hat.
right.
This Buckeye beard.
What does a 5'7" woman look like next to 2 7-foot whatever?
That's
Jahlil
Frank
Okafor went
Kaminsky and
second
who?
that year, I think. I don't remember where Frank went.
He went to maybe Phoenix. Who's that? Is that Okafor?
Yeah, Jahlil Okafor,
Okay.
Duke. Remember I posted that picture of him holding the basketball? Like
Yes.
he was able to palm it and everyone was like
Yes.
freaking out. That was like big one. I got a couple of other ones. What was has the draft lost a little bit of its shine because of NIL? Like these guys are already millionaires. They know walking into the
Yes.
draft. I
Yes.
think so too.
Yeah, although I will say this year, so I've been down at Turner the last couple of years in Atlanta, and I went back this year. I was in Brooklyn, so I was on site. But the last couple of years, at least from afar, I was covering it, but just not on site on the actual draft. Because there were so many foreign players outside of obviously the
I
year.
heard you say this. You thought it was like a little bit more of a throwback, right?
Yes, I mean Wembanyama, obviously he was a one-off, but other foreign players being drafted 1 or 2 or high up that didn't
Yeah.
have the name recognition, kind of loses its luster. But this year there was so many one and dones, players that actually did succeed in the NCAA tournament, and were on that big stage. There was 18, I think, freshmen in the first round. So I think that it helped feel bigger.
Yeah.
I do think the 2-day, 2-night thing is not the second round kind of lost all its luster. I get it because it's so late at night. Maybe you started earlier. Because I didn't walk out of there, and you can relate to this kind of stuff. I mean, I didn't walk out of the Barclays Arena till 1:45 Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So if you'd done the second round, I mean, who knows? We get out there 2 or 3 in the morning. So I get that from a television perspective as well. But then the next night, it's just there's no energy. There's just nothing. And I didn't check the ratings, whatever, but it just didn't feel. It feels like you're letting the air out of the room.
I've done a lot of cool things in my career. One of the highlights of my career was working that 2015 draft with you for sure. It was an experience, kind of like moving quick. I always say getting to interview those players as they walk off the stage, like the biggest night of their lives.
Yes.
And obviously
And
I
for
had
their
been
families too.
yeah. And I had been with that Kentucky team a lot that year.
Yep.
And I think 7 of them might have gone in the top 10 or 7
That
of
was
them.
the year they were 38-0 before they lost to Wisconsin.
That's right. That is absolutely right. Frank Kaminsky right there. I
Yep.
remember they almost lost to Notre Dame in the Elite Eight. I
Yep.
talked to Mike Bray about this a lot. And I remember because I had been embedded with that team, I had walked to school with the kids. I'd spent so much time with them, like Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, all those guys. There's Kat right there, which is
There you
so
go.
cool to me to see some of these guys playing
Yep.
in the league and long careers. That was a really cool night for me to be able to spend that night. These moments are not lost on me. I love the stories of these players and these people, and that was a really cool night. All right, I've got 1 more minute with you because I know you got to get going. I do want to give you personally a little bit of love because you just ran your 34th half marathon. Congrats.
Well, thank you.
What was your time?
This is a hard
That's you and me,
adjustment.
by the way. Look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
wish,
sent me that picture.
by the way, the last time they did another one of these in Houston, I did when it was there 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I wish every Final Four did this
Yeah.
because I love when they did this when we did this one. You smoked me. We started together and then you smoked me. You were doing triathlons then,
I was.
and I think you were, weren't you?
Yeah, 2015. Yeah, and then they made us go on SportsCenter immediately
Yes.
afterwards,
Yes.
remember?
This is pre-hamstring injury.
Pre-hamstring, yes,
Yes.
pre-hamstring. That's
Which
right.
I still can't get over your recovery from that, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, well,
But
we
no,
all got our things.
the hard adjustment is I'm slow and steady now, but now it's all about the finish. It's all about the challenge, and we'll see if I can get to my goal of 50 of them.
That's awesome.
I've done 4 fulls. I don't know if I have another full in me. Did Chicago in 23. It's just the commitment for the training. I just don't know if I have that in me.
New York is great. I've done it twice. I'd like to do New York one more time before my 50th birthday. But again, I don't know if I have it either. My hips hurt every single day.
Are you done with triathlons?
So I don't do I'm not I think I'm kind of retired from triathlons, and I always remember you, Andy, because you did like a smaller triathlon
Yes.
in New York and you swam in the East River.
Yes.
I was
It's
like,
pretty nasty.
what?
The only good thing about it was it
Oh.
was a point to point, and the current was so fast. It had to be the
that you
fastest.
didn't see any dead things around you? And
Oh no, when we were waiting in line to go in, there was some fish floating,
oh my
the
god.
debris. Um, but I'm still standing here. But it was so fast. Like people were in
Yeah,
and
the
out of there
current.
so quickly
Yeah.
because that was the only positive. But I was one and done with that race.
Yeah. I did a lot of triathlons, and if I never have to put my face in an open water body of water again, I'm good. I think I'm good. And if I never have a grown man swim over me
Oh
and
God.
like push me to the bottom, I'm good.
How is the hamstring?
Good. Yeah, I'm good. Running stadium stairs, doing all that stuff. It's funny because when you do something, when you have an injury like that, which by the way has helped me relate to some of these players,
Yes.
that like Grant Williams, obviously he had the ACL injury, and so I empathize with them from a totally different standpoint now. But it's funny because when they tell you you have a year recovery at 47 or however old I was like, it's a lot different when you lose a year when you're in your 20s than you do in your 40s. You're like, I
Right.
don't have many good years left. But it was good. It was very challenging. But again, like I said, I think it really kind of helps me empathize with the players and the athletes that I cover. From a recovery, from a PTSD, from a very lonely mental place that you're going through during the recovery. But yeah, I'm back and I'm better. And you
Do
always
you have a
are.
theory? Hey, do you have a theory on all these Achilles tears?
No, I mean, in the NFL, I feel like I did. I felt like, I don't feel like they practice as much as they used to. So they're not putting their bodies through these kind of things. And Achilles, obviously not the same as an ACL. I think turf and grass are different. But I don't know. What's your theory? Because that
It's
was another
crazy.
thing
I
I
mean,
wanted to talk to you
there's
about, but I know we're kind of running out of
no, I know.
time.
I think there was like 8 this year
That's exactly right. Hold
in
on.
the
I do have
NBA.
this stat. 7 this year, 0 last year.
Yeah, something's going on.
What do you think? Too many games?
Yeah,
Too like
maybe too many games. Yeah,
I
crazy.
did hear the commissioner say that they're obviously working on it. They're looking into it. I heard him say also with Malika Andrews pre-game, I think it was before game 7, that they're utilizing AI to kind of help some of those things as well, which I think is interesting.
Well, I mean, they're gonna have to figure this out.
Yeah. And we got to keep our stars on the court.
Yes,
What people want to see, right?
yes.
And you too, the big star, Andy Katz,
Well,
host of
always a pleasure.
Sideline Podcast. I will tag that.
Thank
So
you.
make sure that you follow him. He's got all your NBA stuff. You can see him on the Big Ten Network. A very good friend of mine, my first basketball analyst. Surprised I didn't run into you while I was on my craziness tour with the Hornets this past season.
Well, you're doing great. Keep
Thanks.
reinventing. That's what
Thanks.
we have to just keep reinventing ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Keep plugging along.
keep learning from our mistakes and laughing at them.
Yep.
You're awesome, Andy. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you, Shannon.
Yes. All right. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And I guess if I'm in Rhode Island, which I don't think I will be, but maybe we'll be in the same town and we can have a beer or something. Go for a
Okay.
run.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Shannon.
Bye. All right. So we're gonna bring Kelly in, producer Kelly, right now. How's your week been?
Week's been good.
Yeah.
It's been a busy week. But yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to hear Andy Katz. I've enjoyed that a lot, actually.
Yeah, you worked with him as well.
I didn't actually work with him.
Oh, you didn't?
No, he never did. I did very little basketball. I did women's tournament and stuff like that, and he wasn't really on that. So I just knew of him.
All right. What did I miss? I mean, obviously he had to be somewhere, so I didn't get to kind of talk to him as much as I wanted to. And I know you and I kind of sat down and talked about things that we wanted to touch on. We missed some of those, but what were some of the things you think that you would have liked to ask him?
I don't know if I like there's the I think I would like to have divulged a little bit more into the ring culture comment because I firmly disagree with the idea that
Yeah,
like
that's just because your Eagles
well, no,
won last
no, it's
time.
not. It's just as in general. I think athletes, the point is to win championship. That's the point. So, like, I believe ring culture is a thing, and it was just interesting. I mean, kind of glossed over it a little bit, how it should change and all of that. But, like, I mean, I don't know. I firmly believe that championships and winning championships is the whole point of sports. So, you know, the rest of it, like, it's fine. I mean, with it, that's just my thought. And I just, so I mean, we kind of glossed over a little bit with him.
Yeah.
I would love to have dove in a little bit more into the LeBron thoughts and where he's going and kind of where, you know, how he leaving the NBA at some point. I mean, been there 23 years, so God knows how long, much longer he's gonna be there. But that kind of stuff, like, it's interesting to me what a guy like Andy Katz thinks. But the fact that he thinks that LeBron's right on the ring culture thing, I mean, it gave me pause because I was like, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the talk about the producer. So like when he was talking about, and I'm more curious about your thought on this because I I think I played middle road with getting ridiculous requests and have to facilitate them. But like when producers ask for things like now those are extreme, just for anyone listening. The extreme request to ask the president to do something is a little over the top, but there's tons of things that, you know, a producer or even like an executive might ask for that is insane to have to actually put out there. I'm just curious, you didn't really weigh in a ton
I
on that.
mean, you got to ask. If you have an idea, like I feel like, I mean, you got to shoot your shot, right? Like, I mean, what do you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take? And yeah, but I do think I don't know if I've been asked crazy things like that. That was crazy because I mean, by the way, do you font the president? You don't font the president.
Not supposed to.
No, you're not supposed to font the president. So you wonder even if it was a call-in, would they have fonted him? Which would have been a no-no in the world of television, but who knows? Anyways, I digress. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the craziest request that I've been asked. I think like my craziest things are just when people ask for tickets last minute. To me, it's like, no, it's Saturday before the cup race. I can't get you pit passes today. You've known the race was going to be here for 3 years. It's here every year at the same time. Those are I think the ones that bother me the most. But I don't know if I have any crazy requests like that. I did interview Coach Boeheim one time, and I had to ask him a question about something here.
Houston.
Yeah, Syracuse. And I'm always kind of like in the vein that if I have to ask a tough question, I'm gonna be like, hey, just I'm gonna kind of ask you this question. I wanted to let you know. And he looked at me and he's like, wow, I'm gonna give you a really bad answer. He said something like that. And I was like, fantastic. So you kind of go into it knowing, okay, maybe I should ask it in a different way, which I think I did to kind of save face. But that's like what you do, right? You kind of make sure that you want it. Listen, no one wants a bad answer from a coach. No one wants a bad answer from anybody. It doesn't do anyone any service. The fan, the coach that's answering the question, the reporter that's asking the question, none of it. And so you want to you're working with these guys is which I used to tell a lot of coaches, like, hey, what's the best way to kind of do this? Let's work together on this and get the best possible stuff that we can get for the fan.
Have you
But
ever
yeah,
prefaced like a question you know you don't really want to ask by I have to ask this?
no, I think I'll say like, I know that you've already answered this question many times, but I need to ask as well for our audience. And so I think just always, I've always been under I always fall under the, like, just give them the respect. Like, let them know, hey, I don't know how much you know about this, but hey, I know that, you've already answered this question, and I think just letting them know that you're aware. Because listen, I mean, how many times did you ask Tony a question, or I asked Tony Stewart a question about Indianapolis, and he's like, just go pull the tape from last year. I answered this question last year, what it's like to come to Indianapolis. And you're like, all right, Tony, I know that you've answered this question many times before, but for the new audience, maybe can we get, what is it like?
Yeah. I mean, part of it
Fingers
is
crossed.
understanding that as a professional athlete, unfortunately, that's also part of your job is
That's
to
true.
answer these questions. I mean, that's why they call it a professional athlete.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was just curious because I thought that was very entertaining that Andy shared that.
Yeah.
I love hearing like
Inside.
some of those crazy things that you have to be like, you really want me to do that?
Yeah. Okay, well, another week in the books, and I want to let everybody know, thank you so much for all the follows, all the feedback. I try to get back to all of you guys. If you have anything that you want to talk about sports wise, or mommy wise, daddy wise, whatever, give me a text, give me a shout. Also, let Andy Katz know how much you enjoyed listening to him and his stories. Give him a follow on all of his social media platforms. Next week we have Kate Scott on. Yes, my first female that I'm going to talk to, and I wanted it to be a badass woman, and she really is. She's the voice of the 76ers. I've known her for a couple of years and had the opportunity to kind of work with her and see her when I was covering the Hornets this past season. And I can't wait to talk to her, because when you talk about glass ceilings and doing things in a quote unquote man's world, this woman is truly making that happen and leading the way for a lot of young women who are aspiring to be play by play as well. And she's doing an awesome job. And it hasn't been easy. In case you didn't know, Philadelphia fans are a little intense. And I know that she's probably had a lot of uh, challenging nights, I guess I should say. So I'm excited to kind of talk to her about that. I love you, Philly fans, by the way. I'm not looking for any of you guys to rain down on me. I love Philly fans. I'm hoping to get Saquon Barkley on my show at some point to kind of make nice. But I love Kate and can't wait to have her on. So thank you again, everybody, for listening. Give us a follow. Make sure you rate the podcast as well. That's how we kind of continue to grow and continue to let I guess know that everyone's enjoying what we're doing here. So see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. And I'll see you in Chicago. I'm going to be on Chicago on the TNT broadcast. Cannot wait for that. Later.